Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Today's topic we covering the process of measuring validity and reliability, which is validating the new developed questionnaire, as well as seeing the steps or the criteria needed for you to do a pilot study. Okay. Okay, when you are doing a process of measuring reliability and validity, it's basically a method of testing the goodness of measure. All right, and good data is measured on these two. Reliability refers to accuracy in measurement, is measured through the stability and the consistency of other items involved. It is test and retest reliability and inter-item consistency. Now, when we look at validity, we are looking at are we measuring the right thing? Okay, are we measuring the right thing? I mean, if we are measuring food quality, are all items that in that specific dimension is representing that particular construct, are they related to food? Janganlah 8 item, 7 item tentang food, tetapi mungkin satu tersesat, you tanya pasal beverage quality ataupun service quality. So kita kena lalu proses validity lah untuk confirm item tu betul atau tak. Betul tak sepatutnya berada dalam konstruk ataupun dimension yang you letakkan lah. Berada di sini dia ada face content, validity, content criterion validity, dan juga construct validity. Okay, first we're going to look what validity is. So validity ini is the measurement procedure in which you actually measure the concept that is intended to measure, right? Not all or nothing phenomenon, but it's rather mathematically an instrument may be valid in one situation, but may not be valid in another. So, macam tadi, dia ada beberapa jenis validity. Pertamanya, face validity. This is basically a subjective measure of the validity. It asks, does it seem to measure what we claim? What we claim? Okay. All right. The second one is content validity. And it asks whether the content of the measurement covers the full domain of the concept, or likewise. And to get content validity, we need to do extensive literature review and feedback. Individuals, especially the experts. Okay. Other types of validity can also include the construct validity and the convergence validity. Okay, convergence validity is basically to what extent the items that the validation constructs are highly accurate by comparing the instrument with other instruments that measure the same concept, demonstrating how the select instrument currently to other samples. Okay. So conversion validity, and this other one is discriminability. It is measured to what is the extent that items intend to measure different constructs are low correlated or closely related to concept. Statistical analysis is done to the extent in which both instruments can discriminately define between these concepts. Concurrent validity is to what extent to obtain the score that can be used to estimate an individual's present standing with respect to other variables. Predictability is to what extent the obtained score can be used to estimate individuals' future standing with respect to some of the variables. Okay. Alright, so pendek kata, validity ni kita measure adakah kita punya items tu memang patut ataupun memang sah item yang kita ada dalam satu construct variable tu mewakili variable tersebut. Okay, so that is what measuring validity is all about. Okay, so several ways you can do to measure the validity. Alright, the first of them, which is most common, tetapi the first one saya mengakui saya kurang segi pendedahan, which is to do the correlation analysis. The second one, memang saya ada sikit banyak knowledge, which is to do the exploratory factor analysis and or confirmatory factor analysis. Okay. Seperti mana kawan you tanya dalam kelas minggu lepas, saya jawab kepada dia, proses reliability dan validity ni, you bayangkan macam proses pelapisan air. Chromback alpha is the top layer, itulah tapisan pertama. Kemudian, below chromback alpha, sebenarnya ialah EFA dulu. So, EFA itu akan tapisan kedua. Chromback alpha pada peringkat pertama mungkin menunjukkan alpha value reliability bagus, tapi apabila kita buat the second step of filtering to the factor analysis mungkin katakan ada 50 item, tetapi disebabkan certain items tak memenuhi kriteria atau threshold dalam EFA ni, maka mungkin 3 item akan dibuang. So tinggal 47. So from 47 item tu, you boleh proceed lah. Ada you nak measure reliability kali kedua, kali ketiga, ataupun proceed pada inferential statistic, meaning you buat lah you punya means comparison or correlation or regression or whatever. Now CFA ni hanya digunakan sebagai tapisan ketiga terakhir, tetapi dengan syarat you kena buat SCM lepas tu. CFA ni is basically to measure how your proposed model, your complex framework tu, from independent to moderating to mediating to dependent variables, dia akan measure sama ada your model you propose tu memenuhi threshold untuk CFA ni sebelum you boleh buat structure model path. Okay. So CFA beza dengan EFA, CFA ni eksklusif pada structure equation modeling ya. Alright. For those who use correlation analysis, dia sama saja, dia guna Guilford rule of thumb. Meaning kita tengok R value ni lah. Biasanya anything that it's below 0.2 is negligible. If it's 0.2 to 0.4, it's low. Between 0.4 to 7 is moderate. 7 to 9 is highly related. Okay. Alright. If you like to know more, okay, when it comes to validity, pada peringkat you all, it's just for need to know basis. Which analysis yang you nak guna in your meta or when you do masters and PhD, I leave it to you to decide whether you want to use correlation or factor analysis. Okay, but I can give you, I'll tell you what the analysis, what the method is all about. Okay, all right. If you wish to add correlation, you can click on this link. If you wish to know about exploratory factor analysis or confirmatory factor analysis, you click this tool link, this tool below. Okay, so if you curious to know more about how to test validity to present correlation, you can look at this first video. It's 6 minutes long. It shows and demonstrates you the steps to do correlation through to do validity through the function of Pearson correlationship. Okay. Second video second and third video is from my good friend, Mr. James Gaskin. This video basically explains how to do the EFA explorative factor analysis for all constructs and dimension in your proposed questionnaire, and there will be a threshold, the threshold that you need to fulfill, so that you can say that okay, the items that you have are valid. And the same also applies for the third video, EFA. Take note that for validity through correlation and validity to EFA, you can use SPSS, but if you are doing confirmatory factor analysis, you will need an add-on to SPSS, which is the AMOS software. Okay. All right. Okay, if you look at this is right up in the second paragraph. This is basically the sixth assumption or threshold that when you do an EFA, these 6 conditions must be met. First of all, you need to look at the eigenvalue. It should be more than 1. Second is the Kaiser-Meyer-Olkin, which is measuring a sample adequacy value, and it must exceed 0.5. A minimum requirement of loading factor is 0.3 based on a 0.05 or 95% significant value. Fourth is the Bartlett's test of spirity, which is at least significant at 0.5. Commonality's value must be greater than 0.5. And lastly, anti-image correlation greater than 0.50. All right. Another thing you also should look at is the minimum loading factor value. It should be somewhere above 0.6 if you want to retain a certain items. Usually, if it's below, that item will be deleted. Okay, and usually when you delete it, it will bring the value of your convex alpha reliability up. Okay, while reporting all the 6, while fulfilling all the 6 requirements set for EFA. Okay, let's look at an example how EFA is being reported. Okay. Usually, when the data is generated through inside the SPSS Outlook, if you can see here the codes here, the items are not arranged in order based on C1 to C7. In this table, you see here C3 is first, followed by C2. This is because through the explorative factor analysis, the SPSS program believed that C3 is one of the strongest item that strongly represents certification, and then it's followed by the other remaining items. So actually, in terms of chronology of items, you don't need to worry that much which number items is first, second, or third. What you really need to worry if SPSS says C1 does not belong in this group of variables. So if that happens, you will need to recheck the item. Okay. So no need to worry about the chronologies as long as the loading value is above 0.6, you should be okay. Okay. We look at the eigenvalue, the percentage of variance, total variance explains, KMO, and Bartlett's test. All of these numbers show that all dimensions inside cafeteria and attributes are valid and fulfill the requirements, meaning they all represent each dimension in their respective. They represent each of their respective dimensions. Okay. This is the style that you report. Start with certification represents the largest percentage of variance of data with median value of blah blah blah. All 7 of these items record loaded factor range, then all of them are retained. Okay. If you were to report this in a journal, it will look something like this. Okay. So in the methodology, we say the factor analysis is essential in understanding the underlying structure in the data matrix, identify most parsimonious set variables and shrink a large number of items to much smaller sets of underlying factors that summarize the essential information containing in the variables. And then these are the 6 assumptions that need to be met. Okay. And in contrast to thesis, we write it as compressed, as short as we can when you report it in the journal, meaning we summarize all 5 values, recorded KMO value of whatever, followed by the eigenvalue, okay, the Bartner's test of sphericity, the total number of variants, okay, and lastly the loading factors. Okay. All right. So that is an example how EFA is done and reported. Okay. Okay. As for CFA, this is generally how an model would look like to measure, in order for us to measure whether the proposed diagram is fit and is ready to be analyzed using the structure model path. This is one example of the independent variable with two mediating variable and a dependent variable. So the criteria we are looking at is this: chi-square value, the DF value, the P value, the RMR, GFI, CFR, and RAMC value. These are the minimal threshold. If you get values above or in between this value, then by means that your model is valid and your items that represent each whole model is also valid. Okay. And similarly to EFA, there is also loading values. Okay. In this case, service element from total of 7 items, only 3 items are retained, because when we do EFA followed by CFA, EFA may be deleted 1 item, but when we do CFA, another items are deleted. And same goes, example can say about satisfaction. In the EFA, T3 was actually retained, but when we do the CFA, which is the final layer in the water filtration system, the CFA eliminated item T3 because of low loading factor. Okay. All right. So this is an example of write-up. As you can see, it's quite complex. Now this is an example how the write-up will look in a research paper. So CFA is reported as the measurement model. result. Entire critical ratio and report here. From a total of 57, 11s were deleted due to standard loading factor being smaller than 0.6. The remaining 46 items that were retained because of the standard loading factor all fulfill the minimum threshold, and once we deleted the items, it says here the Cronbach alpha was at this level. Okay. Kita cerita kat sini, this model that we got fulfills all the threshold as required for an EFA, meaning the chi-square DF value, P value, chi-square over DF, RMR, GFI, CFI, RMC are within the threshold set. Okay. Right. So to sum up, factor analysis, the criteria that is required when you report are more extensive as compared to Cronbach alpha. Cronbach alpha pretty much straightforward. If it's 0.6, it is morally good. If by doing Cronbach alpha alone, and you click the function if an item deletes, will it increase or decrease? You can decide at that point of time whether you want to keep it or get rid of it early on. But when you do CFA, yes, it is EFA, CFA, the analysis is more rigorous. Besides loading factor alone, which is synonym to the Cronbach alpha's accepted value of reliability, and for this for EFA and CFA, it is the value of the validity. Okay, the standard value along with the other criteria that you need, whether it's eigenvalue, whether it's KMO, or in the CFA, whether it's REMS, QI, IFI, GFI, and all. Those criteria that has been set by established scholars that you have to fulfill, you must fulfill them. Only then you can declare that your items used for inside your model are valid. Okay. Do not stress yourself about the complexity of all the information that needs to be reported. At this stage, it is not compulsory for undergrad level to extensively know what other criteria are needed for EFA, CFA, or correlationship. But it's good to know. You should know a few and choose what is appropriate when you do your beta. When you come into postgraduate world, you will need to use either one of them in conjunction with your Cronbach alpha. Okay. Okay, we continue on about reliability. Okay, reliability is basically how consistent the measurement technique is in measuring the concept of interest. Okay, it's considered as a measure of the amount of random error that can get the measured techniques. Okay, the correlation coefficient of between 0 to 1, 0.8 is considered for well-developed 2, and 0.7 for newly developed question. Okay, it's specific to a sample that being tested, and reliability testing needs to be performed on each instrument used in the study before other statistical analysis are performed. Okay, so like I mentioned before, saya ingatkan sekali, reliability ni bayangkan dia sebagai penapis utama sebelum you proceed pada you nak validate, nak do validity test to a correlation method, or you want to do a factor analysis method. Okay, you have to do the reliability test before you do the validity test. Okay, these are some of the different aspect of reliability. You boleh baca sendiri. Okay, and callback alpha seperti kelas minggu lepas is usually one of the best measures for inter-item reliability. Okay. The more items, the greater the precision of reliability estimate, and the more items, the greater the reliability, assuming that average inter-item correlation is same. And there is a linear relationship between reliability and average inter-item correlation. All right. Okay. And as I mentioned in last week's class, usually if you get a value of 0.7 for newly developed questionnaire, it's usually already very good. Okay. What are the things that may reduce reliability? Some of them may be clerical manual errors, guessing on the right type of items. Your items may be too small in amount, maybe food quality, service quality, you ada 3 items saja, and that's so in that scenario mungkin you punya combat alpha for service quality based on 3 item tu mungkin 0.5 saja. So jangan ada item yang terlalu sikit sangat. Unclear or ambiguous item. Unclear meaning soalan yang you tanya tu mungkin tak berapa jelas, mungkin sebab you guna double barrel word. You tanya apa, I believe that the food quality and service quality is good. Meaning you tanya 2 benda dalam satu, and you tanya pula dalam food quality, sedangkan mungkin you boleh separate soalan apa, I believe the service quality tu di dalam dimension yang lain. Okay. So how to do reliability analysis? Saya akan skip sebab you dah buat dah, you dah tengok dan praktis dah minggu lepas. Ini contoh je. Dalam contoh 4 items ni, the alpha value for all 4 items ni is 0.724. Kalau delete number 1, 2 dan 4 dia akan rendah. Tapi kalau delete item 3, dia punya value boleh naik sikit saja. But usually kalau case macam ni, saya personally takkan delete lah. Kalau dia kata if delete ni boleh dapat 9, then you boleh consider lah untuk bang Q3 ni. But 0.72 to 0.78 bagi saya not much difference lah. Okay. Before measuring a construct, it is important to review the relevant literatures, determine whether the construct you want to measure is unidimension or multi-dimension. Find the appropriate rating scales, whichever possible. Whenever possible, use the existing measurement scale, check wording of the scale, and pilot test the scale before testing. And after measuring construct, you should always check reliability and validity of the scale and modify the scale if you find it necessary. All right, to sum up about reliability and validity. Okay, it is a measuring procedure that can be highly reliable. A measuring procedure can be highly reliable, but may have low validity. Kita akan tengok dalam slide ni. Ini ada kaitan sikit lah dengan dengan prinsip fizik persis dengan G2 or precision and accuracy lah. Kita akan tengok graf lagi. A measurement procedure that is low reliability when the measurement situation remains constant cannot have an acceptable degree of validity. Reliability is usually relatively straightforward to demonstrate, but validity is much more difficult and often theory-related. Reliability, tengok alpha value, and kita akan tahu lah dia bad, moderate, good, better. But for that was for reliability. But for validity, you kena tengok 6 hingga 8 threshold baru you boleh confirm your items or your model ni valid. Okay. You don't necessarily have to demonstrate reliability and validity every time. Okay, yang point nombor 4 ni, macam saya kata di penghujung kelas hari Selasa, kalau you adopt, you guna bulat-bulat questionnaire daripada past researcher, misalnya you guna word frequency questionnaire, word by word, item by item, ataupun 3-factor eating questionnaire version 18, Malay version, which has already been validated by past researcher and diguna and is well known to use in wide range of demographic and research setting, you tak payah do reliability or validity test. Just say dalam write-up thesis ataupun research you, I am using FFQ or the 3-factor questionnaire, and this tool has been widely used and has been validated by past researchers. That's it. Tak payahlah you nak buat semula apa, kiraan alpha, kiraan eigenvalue, KSO, and percentage of variance dan sebagainya tu. Right? Sometimes there will be existing measures which research has shown. Sebab point keempat ni, existing measure, previous researchers have already validated the tool. Okay. Melainkan kalau you adapt, you ambil soalan daripada research satisfaction cafe and you nak ubah dalam study you yang bersifat you nak tengok satisfaction di makanan di pasar malam. So example of the item yang you adapt, I am satisfied with the food served at this cafe. Kalau you guna item tu and you buat research tu dalam cafe, you tak perlu validate. Tapi since you adapt, you adaptasi, so dia akan jadi macam ni. I am satisfied with the food served at the night market in Kuala Terengganu. Disebabkan you ubah satisfied from cafe tu makanan pasar malam, that you will have to do a validation and a validity and reliability test. Yeah. Okay, if you look at this diagram, the first target hole, it is neither valid nor reliable because tengok dia punya taburan tembakan ni tak sekata. So it shows that the research method do not hit the heart of the research aim, is not valid, and repeated attempts are unfocused. Second one, it's reliable but not valid. Dia persist tetapi tak jitu. It is persist because terkumpul satu tempat tetapi it is not accurate because it doesn't hit the bullseye. So the research method do not hit the heart of the research aim but repeat attempts and it get most of the same but it is the wrong results. Okay. The diagram is very valid but not very reliable. Only a few dia kena target, tetapi ada banyak yang berada di luar target. So katakan sini, the research method hits the aim of the study fairly close, but repeated attempts have very scattered results. Now, a final example where all of the dots are within the middle circle shows that the research method hit the heart of the research aim and repeated attempts. It all hit in the heart. Okay. The fourth example is illustration. The tool is valid and reliable. Okay. Always remember, a valid instrument is always reliable, but a reliable instrument may not always be valid. Okay. All right. But for undergraduate, and for your PITA, you need to at least know and remember how to do cron by alpha. As for validity tests, it will be up to your own initiative with the guidance of your supervisor to choose which validation technique that suits you best, right? Okay, so that's basically it for today's topic. Inshallah, we'll cover the final topic which relates to sampling on Tuesday. Yeah. All right. Till then, take care and assalamualaikum warahmatullah.